not just focus on immediate cost savings or what could help their company reach their financial goals from a monthly perspective, or put out fires that come up, whether it's an infection in a man camp or a certain work facility, and close it off. I would really think about what round 3, round 4 of this COVID reinfection surges mean for the company and how you're going to be tackling it well into 2021.
Welcome to another episode of the peopleHum interview series. I'm your host Anushka Rajesh from the peopleHum team. Let's begin with just a quick introduction of peopleHum. peopleHum is an end-to-end, one-view integrated human capital management automation platform, the winner of the 2019 Global Cody Award for HCM, that is specifically built for crafted employee experiences and the future of work. We run the peopleHum blog and video channel, which receives upwards of 200,000 visitors a year and publish around 2 interviews with well-known names globally every month. And now for our guest, Rya Stone is the CEO and Vice President of Click on HR, an entrepreneur and a startup enthusiast. She has over 15 years of experience in the HR industry and has led several change management initiatives. She was recognized and selected as an honoree by Houston Business Journal as a 2020 Women Who Mean Business, and is also a Forbes contributor and an official member of the Forbes Human Resource Council. We're extremely thrilled and honored to have someone of her stature today on our interview series. Welcome, Rya. It's a thrill to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the first question I had for you, Rya, was, you've had such a phenomenal journey so far. So can you just, in a nutshell, tell us about how you came to be the CEO of Click on HR?
Yeah, great question. I started out just about 2 years and 8 months ago, and we started out just as a full-service HR audit firm. So we were going to be doing very small audit projects or large-scale audit projects, depending on when companies needed M&A help for mergers and acquisitions, and if they were buying a lawsuit without knowing that they were buying a lawsuit, or buying employee problems that they didn't know they were buying. So we started as an audit firm, and we did end-to-end audits. It could be compliance audits, I-9 audits, SOX audits, or M&A audits. Eventually, the business just grew to the point where a lot of our existing clients asked us to help with outsourced HR services as well. So we just grew from one business line to adding outsourced HR services on a retainer basis or on an ad hoc basis. And then those same clients ended up asking us to help with recruiting services. So I would say the business just kind of grew organically to where we just took over business line by business line. And now we're actually doing some talent management as well to help with retention of employees or targeting high potential employees to make sure there's an internal succession plan. So I think it just sort of organically took shape and eventually grew my career that way.
That's great. I see the intrinsic progression, and it's really nice how Click on HR has adapted to what the clients wanted. So that's great. So congrats on that, Rya.
Thank you. Yeah, listening to our clients is of utmost importance. If they don't give us feedback, then I'm not sure how I can do a better job for them. So I think the year one in our business was very critical in hearing them out and tailoring our business needs to match theirs.
Absolutely, absolutely. So the second question I had for you was, these days there's a new emphasis on people management in HR, especially when, organizations are in or, emerging from recession of sorts. So in such times, in your opinion, how can leaders, document a successful people strategy, particularly tailored to business goals?
Yes. I think that's a really valid concern that you bring up, especially when you have to look at post-recession recovery plans and how you're going to be able to bring back the workforce or keep your existing workforce. So I think the best way to track that is to look at the previous recessions that we've had. And if you look at the last 2 recessions we had, most of the plans, post-recovery plans, had about 23% of reduction in pay of the same roles or titles that before the recession the employees held. So something to think about is, what does your budget for post-recovery look like in 2021 or 2022, and adjust your hiring accordingly. So I would say step 1, start with a skills matrix. So for each management line that you have, ensure that you have a skills matrix at any given point. And you can also tie that into your employee performance evaluations on an annual basis, so you know how to manage that data and that information on an ongoing basis. So looking at the skills matrix will allow you, to figure out post-recession recovery, how to bring back the talent pool or how to maintain the talent pool at that reduced rate of salary when they bring them back. The other factor there is also post-recession, we've also seen a lot of companies where mid-management level hiring is on the decline, meaning that post-recession recovery, most of the employers are bringing back employees more to entry level or high level management to bridge the gap. Again, the skills matrix there would be really helpful, so you can identify the talent pool that you want in your entry level workers, and then eventually marry the mentor or mentee relationship to ensure that you have a long-term plan for the company. So I would say start with the skills matrix and then figure out the post-recession recovery plan for both pay and middle management.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more on that one. And I think it's also really imperative for employees and employers to constantly reskill and upskill themselves, right? To adapt to
Agreed.
changing times. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah.
So, Rya, like with the digital revolution, how important, in your opinion, has it become for employees to upgrade their skills or, like as they say, own hip pocket skills in the tech place?
Yeah, very, very important. I think with how quickly everybody earlier this year shifted to remote workforce and having to do Teams calls or Zoom calls, if you were not tech savvy before and you constantly put off your free online classes for Excel, Word, or even basic Microsoft Office skill sets, or even basic troubleshooting, like not knowing how to update your malware, functionality on your laptop, or how to take care of your virus scans, etc., it became even more critical because your IT guy is not necessarily in the down the hallway or in the office where you can bring that person and say, "Hey, my laptop's not working," etc. So I would say it's extremely critical. And as a matter of fact, to your previous question, I think this is now a good time to upgrade those skill sets, as you mentioned, and be able to be a little bit more self-sustaining and independently be able to work with technology. So I think it's going to be a most critical, it's a really critical value that everybody needs to get going on.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. So, do you also think that organizations can leverage workforce analytics to tackle the whole diversity and inclusion issue that, like arises in the workplace?
Definitely. And I would say start with your data. Again, it's garbage in, garbage out. So a lot of times you want to make sure you put the right data in so you can get the right feedback or the right output. So I think it's easier in some smaller organizations to get the diversity and inclusion programs going with the data analytics compared to some of the larger organizations. But that could be because historically they may not have collected that information if they've been around for a much longer time. But it's never too late to start collecting that data. Now, I do think that there are three critical items that analytics can play in a part in developing your D&I program. One, it's going to help you identify your existing diversity gaps. So if you already have one, you're going to be able to identify those gaps and figure out across the board, age, ethnicity, what your workforce looks like, and thought of succession planning. That's going to be a really good indicator as to how you plan on retaining those employees, how you plan on moving them off, or designing even your pension plans, your 401k plans, or retirement plans. But most importantly, employee engagement is key. So identifying the diversity gap is going to help get your employees more engaged by creating the programs, whether it's a volunteer program that you want to create for your employees or not. I think the second thing is also, it's going to help you build more equitable compensation structures, that data analytics. It's really going to help you identify between, which ethnic groups, which location, which sex, gender orientation, whatever it might be, are being paid throughout the company. And if that could be a potential issue for the labor unionization in a particular spot, or potential lawsuit or any kind of discrimination issues. So it's also going to help you build equitable compensation structures across the board to keep and retain your talent. Which brings me to my next point. It's also going to help you develop your retention strategy and also develop upon that and ensure that your company is a true reflection of what you are in your community. And I think that's the big part there that you have to maintain. So the analytics are going to be key, and you can start with your EEOC or Equal Employment Opportunity Law data, go from there.
Absolutely. That's a really enlightening explanation you gave us. Thanks a lot for that one. And just to kind of wrap this interview up, Rya, do you have any last sound bites you'd like to leave our audience with?
I don't necessarily have exact sound bites, but I do see a trend that has come up quite often this year in 2020 with the pandemic. So I think one of the things I really encourage employers to think about is not just focus on immediate cost savings or what could help their company reach their financial goals from a monthly perspective, or put out fires that come up, whether it's an infection in a man camp or a certain work facility, and close it off. I would really think about what round 3, round 4 of this COVID reinfection surges mean for the company and how you're going to be tackling it well into 2021. Meaning, don't just think of a round 1 layoff or round 1 furlough. What does that mean in 2021 when work does pick back up, or what is your contingency plan for any of those? So I do want to, kind of share that employers need to be thinking about 2 to 3 steps ahead, and not just follow suit to what we're hearing on the news or the reports or anything, and be a little bit more focused on employee well-being, because people don't like to be jerked around. And so if one day they're being furloughed, the next day they're being brought back, that doesn't really leave them with a good taste in their mouth. So I would really be careful about how we're planning on bringing employees back, how we're making them feel, especially when they're feeling a lot more detached working from home, and what that means for the long-term future of the company.
Absolutely. I think that's undoubtedly the need of the hour to tackle these issues. And I think even with remote working, employees are really going to remember the fact that employers really cared for them, and despite the distance, made them feel like the physical distance, didn't really keep them apart. So I think what you said makes a lot of sense. Thank you very
Mhm.
much. So
Thank you.
yeah. So, Rya, it was a wonderful time interviewing you, and I really appreciate you taking out the time and sharing your views with us. Honestly, in like a 10 to 12-minute interview, I learned so much. I really like the great, amazing, fresh perspectives that you gave us, and I'm hoping that our audience will greatly benefit from this as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I hope, I'm glad that you guys were able to feature us on this podcast or video cast. And I hope that all of us are able to come together and share, and this podcast, and grow our audience from here as well.
Thank you so much for that shout out, Rhea. And you please take care and have a safe and healthy time ahead of you.
Thank you, Aniksha.
All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.